What's up, guys? It's Carson back here on Toxic Gaming with something a little new, being a top 5 competitive poison types. I thought about this idea just when I was team building over the course of the last season of the PIC, and I just thought, if I was picking a poison type, what do I do? And so I wanted to give a little insight just to how I would pick it for a draft style format specifically, and also these mons can work well in singles. By all means, this is a video of my own personal opinion of each one of these mons. If you have your own list and anything like that, any of your own top 5 poison types that you use competitively, or maybe that you go through trying to pick what your draft is, go ahead and put that down in the comment section below, and I would love to hear what you guys have. But before we have any further ado, let's get on to number 5. In the number 5 slot, we actually have 2 mons taking over with Nidoking and Nidoqueen. Now, I didn't decide between these two because, honestly, they're pretty good mirrors of each other. With Nidoking being the quote-unquote being the king and having the power aspect of the duo, while Nidoqueen being the tank and be able to do the utility stuff better than the Nidoking can. Both offer the sheer force option, which allows really Nidoqueen to be able to be somewhat of an attacker, a very decent special attack, and allows Nidoking to really make dents into your opponent's team. Now, both are, with that sheer force ability, both get to take advantage of no life orb recoil for any move that sheer force is affected, such as Sludge Wave, Earth Power, Ice Beam, Thunderbolt, Fire Blast, Flamethrower. Basically a lot of moves that these two use often. Now, Nidoking on the item side, I usually run for a Scarf, or if I don't need the speed, a Specs Nidoking to get as much power as I need. And for Nidoqueen, usually I use Black Sludge to get that passive recovery. Or if what I need is a really specially bulky mon, I go for Assault Vest with 4 moves, getting the sheer force boosting. Very hard tank to bring down. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the staple moves that I would say is on each of these Pokemon that really you can see roughly, I would say, 85 to 90% of the time for both of these mons being Sludge Wave and or Earth Power. Both stabs, both get affected by sheer force and get the life orb boost without having the recoil from it. So both moves I would expect to see on any Nidoqueen or Nidoking around. The other usable moves that I see are Ice Beam, Thunderbolt, Focus Blast, Surf, Fire Blast, Flamethrower, and EQ and Poison Jab specifically for Nidoking, while on the Nidoqueen side I see more of the Stealth Rocks, Roar, Dragon Tail, Toxic Spikes, not Spice, and then also Ice Beam and Thunderbolt if you want to go with that Assault Vest combo with Sludge Wave and Earth Power. I just see Nidoqueen being more of a utility kind of mon, and Nidoking being more of the offensive presence, and that's why I couldn't decide between them. They would be number 5 and 6 depending on what I needed for my team, so I just said we're going to put them both at number 5 to start off this list. At number 4 we have Beedrill or Mega Beedrill, and really we'll be focusing more on the Mega Beedrill because I don't see much actual regular Beedrill action, pretty much because Mega Beedrill gave it life. It took a mon that we had in Gen 1, being most people's Gen 1 favorite, to being actually viable and competitive. It gave it adaptability, which literally changed the game with how strong Mega Beedrill was. 150 base attack and 145 base speed after Mega Evolving really allows Mega Beedrill to have it here. And some people may think Beedrill would be higher on the list, but right now I just have it at number 4. And really because it's not much use outside of the Mega. When you're drafting in some league formats, they usually have the Mega as its own slot in your draft, and usually if you have other Megas that are better to draft than Mega Beedrill, and that way you don't have to have this Beedrill take up your Mega spot. But it's still very solid and very viable in the UU tiers. Some of the staple moves I see from Beedrills, or especially Mega Beedrills, are U-Turn, Poison Jab, and Protect, just because most of the time you protect that first turn you Mega Evolve so you can gain that speed boost, that 145 base speed boost, and the 150 base attack. Get that Mega Evolve as soon as you can, and then with Poison Jab and U-Turn both being boosted by adaptability, it's just 3 moves that seem too common on Beedrills or Mega Beedrills to not leave. The other usable moves I see, I've run with Drill Run, so you can hit Steel types super effectively. Knockoff for anything that's wouldn't be the Mega for your opposing team. It can be really strong from a 150 base attack Mega Beedrill. And when I was looking through other moves, that's really all I could find for other usable stuff that is common on Mega Beedrills. but I saw a little thing called Pursuit, and I just had the thought of actually Pursuit trapping with a Mega Beedrill could completely knock out mons that usually would live a Pursuit trap from other Pokemon. So that could be really something to look at. And then, as kind of a little funny thing, if you wanted to put it on your Beedrill, run Fell Stinger, and if you can just pick off one mon towards the end, you all of a sudden now both killed one of your opponent's mons and have a Swords Dance boost. It could be something that's a little gimmicky, but it could have fun and really swing the tides of the battle in your favor. Overall, I put Mega Beedrill at number 4 because really no much use outside of the Mega and pretty standard moveset, pretty predictable moves. But we're going to be moving on with the list. In the number 3 spot, we have Tentacruel. Now, the reason I put Tentacruel up here in number 3 is because I feel it's really underrated as a mon in OU. It's one of the underrated rapid spinners and attackers in OU. Having base 100 speed, 80 special attack is so useful for what could be a very good offensive rapid spinner that I don't feel a lot of people pick up, mainly because of its weak to Earthquake and Psychic moves. I feel like that'd be the only reason not to pick up Tentacruel, but if you can work around that with your draft, you can be fine. It gets Rain Dish, has a very good passive ability in combination with Black Sludge, really stacking on top of each other. It also gets Liquid Ooze to counter Leech Seed. Now that's something I've seen very common for when you're facing a Mega Venusaur, that most of them have Leech Seeds, or if you're facing like Whimsicott, things like that, they wanted to try to put in a Leech Seed, you can just bring in a Tentacruel and all of a sudden now their mons are losing health rather than gaining it. It has 80 HP, 65 defense, which isn't that great, but you know, you could work for a more physically bulky Tentacruel because you have a base 120 special defense. You really don't have to boost that special defense if you don't need to. And again, a base 80 attack or special attack is not bad for overall attacking Tentacruel. Now for some of the staple moves, I have Scald and Sludge Wave. Scald being arguably the best water move in the game, but being allowed to burn mons and do decent damage as well. And then Sludge Wave, just one of the more powerful special poison type attacks, and can take out things like the Whimsicott in one shot. Really hit things like Gardevoir, or incoming Gardevoir, any other fairy types. It would really plays those Tentacruel strength. Now other usable moves I see are Toxic Spikes and Rapid Spin, just kind of round off that bulky Tentacruel with a little bit of attack investment, but I can set up Toxic Spikes, Rapid Spin stuff away from my field. It really gets some good usage of Toxic Spikes. It also gets Knockoff, Poison Jab, and Swords Dance. Now it's not common to have a physical attacking Tentacruel. It definitely is viable with a 70 base attack with Swords Dance. Usually I wouldn't say it would be if it didn't have a boosting move like Swords Dance, but I feel like it could be, especially as it gets Knockoff for utility. You can also run Ice Beam and possibly something I've seen like Acid Spray to consistently lower special defense down of mons. And then it gets a really funny way that it gets both Mirror Coat and Giga Drain. It has that special bulk to take a special hit and dish it back out with Mirror Coat. And then if it obviously needs more recovery, you can run Giga Drain. But I see most people sticking with Scald, Sludge Wave, Toxic Spikes, a Rapid Spin, and then the occasional knockoff here and there. But overall, I feel like Tentacruel is one of the most underrated attackers and spinners in the OU tier, and that's why I put it at number 3. Now, as we're getting into the number 2 spot, this is a mon that I didn't think people would really believe would be in my number 2 spot, but I have Venusaur and Mega Venusaur here in number 2. And while it hurts me to do this, Venusaur is my mascot, it's my favorite, it's my boy. I drafted it, it has to be in the number 2 spot for me, mainly because it's used still mainly for the Mega. Now, I did say the same thing about Mega Beedrill before. Mega Venusaur is that much stronger in the defensive category. It's really that overall bulk combined with decent special attack that allows Mega Venusaur to be higher on the list. It has Chlorophyll for the regular Venusaur and Thick Fat for the bulk when it turns Mega. You can still use a regular Venusaur, but you really have to draft for it, and you can't really... You have to have your draft kind of focused a little more around it rather than just drafting a Mega Venusaur to have a Venusaur. With having 80 base HP, 83 base defense, and 100 base special defense before Mega Evolving, and then 123 base defense and 120 base special defense after Mega Evolving, and Thick Fat combined for that bulk is really great for Mega Venusaur. If you are not running a Mega, you could run Black Sludge just to get that passive recovery, but Mega Venusaur still is more common in any draft teams for its obvious increase in bulk. Now, some staple moves that I see on Venusaurs, at least I've run on Venusaurs, have been both Giga Drain and Sludge Bomb, being it's really not its two strongest, I wouldn't say, stabs. Maybe with Sludge Bomb being the strongest, I'm not quite sure. But Giga Drain I know isn't the strongest. It just allows Mega Venusaur and Venusaur to stick around the battle. You could obviously use other usable moves like Leech Seed and Sleep Powder Synthesis to really kind of make that last, make your opponent switch out. But Giga Drain is just a nice move. If you need some good damage and want to heal up Venusaur, boom, you got it. Other usable moves I've seen with Hidden Power Fire and sometimes Hidden Power Ice, depending on what you're seeing. Obviously, Hidden Powers can be very tweaked according to your team you're facing, but Venusaur is one of the mons that really gets the most use out of having Hidden Powers just to fill those slots that it needs for this type coverage. One other variant of Venusaur I've seen is a physical attacking Venusaur by using Chlorophyll combined with Growth, by getting both a Swords Dance boost and a Nasty Plot boost while you're in the sun. Combining with your doubled speed with Chlorophyll, you can run a knockoff Power Whip, even Earthquake regular Venusaur. You can run a mixed Venusaur by combining Giga Drain, Sludge Bomb, and Earthquake. It's really interesting to see what you can do with a regular Venusaur, and you can actually disguise a Mega Venusaur as a regular Venusaur for a little while until you absolutely need to Mega Evolve and gain that bulk. And that's why I put Mega Venusaur up here at number 2, because it is one of the most drafted mons for its bulk and how well synergy it can have with other mons in a usual draft. But that's why it's at number 2, and it's still my favorite, but it has to stay here at number 2. Now, before we get to the number 1 spot, I just want to let you know some of the honorable mentions I had for this list. I could have made it 10, but I felt like 5 was just a better number to use. Some of the honorable mentions go by the Pokemon of Drapion, Dragalge, Crobat, and Weezing. They were 4 mons that I felt really could be on this list, but I don't know, they just seemed like they were just lower tiers. They weren't on my top 5 list that I would go through when I was drafting. So those are the honorable mentions before we hit to number 1, and let's get right to it. And topping out the list is everybody's favorite Gen 1 mon, Gengar. And now I am specifically talking about Gengar here, not the Mega. Now I'll get into that in a second because the Mega really is not needed. In most draft formats, as I said earlier, you usually have your own Mega slot and then you have everybody else to draft. But with Gengar, you're really kind of wasting that Mega slot when you could be drafting a bunch of other mons that are better from their Megas, when Gengar can be arguably the same on equal footing or even better than the Mega form. Because really all the Mega does is give it that boosted special attack and speed that it needs, but you're also gaining a weakness, and I like having Gengar to be able to both take on Earthquakes by not being able to be affected by it and being a spin blocker. It's really nice. You can have Black Sludge to get that little passive recovery. You can go all-out offense with a Choice Specs Power Gengar. Or you can run a nice little Focus Sash, Destiny Bond type lead with a regular Gengar that you would not be able to do with the Mega. Now, some of the staple moves for Gengar that I've seen are both Shadow Ball and Sludge Bomb. Just because 2 stab moves, usually all the staple moves are going to be stab moves, but Gengar just runs these 2 moves better than any other Poison type mon, arguably better than any other Ghost type mons as well. He also gets access to Dazzling Gleam, Thunderbolt, Energy Ball, Psychic, Focus Blast, and even Icy Wind to take that little bit of coverage that he has with his staple moves and just expound on it. The only problems I see with Gengar's real moveset is the fact that you have to pick 4 moves, and that's why it's better, I feel like, a draft format, because you can really pick what 4 moves you want depending on who you're seeing. You can also run with the lead type Gengar. You can run a Willow plus Hex Gengar to really kind of trick your opponent up. And then I mentioned Icy Wind specifically because it's actually better, I think, than Hidden Power Ice Gengar. While it may be weaker, it will slow your opponent's mon down, even if they don't bring in a mon that's weak to ice. If they bring in, say, a Salamence to try to really KO you, a Choice Scarf Salamence, you can just destroy it with an Icy Wind. It's so nice to have that ice type coverage. But Gengar, really, arguably, it's the best, in my opinion, poison type to draft in a draft format, league style of battling. It hurts me to say that over Mega Venusaur, but I had to look at the facts, and that's what I feel my opinion is about Mega Gengar, or not Mega Gengar, about original Gengar. That is just number 1 in many books. Now that is our top 5 competitive poison types. Let me know what you guys think of it down below. Let me also know whatever top 5 mons you think down below deserve to be on this list. And I'm gonna get up and out of here. So thank you guys for coming out. I'm Carson Toxic Gaming. And as always, you guys stay toxic. We'll see you guys.